Okay, we're back. Hopefully, I can get back with the people who want to ask questions. Right now, it's showing nobody. So, what we'll do is continue to talk about the motility select, which is a problem from the esophagus down to the top of the colon. The muscles don't work right. They get pretty much frozen. And the way I've always treated it is to give it magnesium, because magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer. And it will, all the gastrointestinal muscles, they're subtle. There's some big, strong muscles that are basically our colon, but they're supported and told what to do by these little muscles and nerve pathways. The problem with gastroparesis is the nerves aren't working right and the muscle can't work right. Okay, a way to get around that is to relax the muscles with magnesium. It doesn't always work. So I was always stuck with people with gastroparesis. I had to work really hard to get around that, and combination of fiber, try with the magnesium, and now there's motility select, which I've seen some formulas like it a few years ago that were basically not fully developed. They were they worked, but they didn't work the way we wanted them to work. And the problem is that when you don't move those muscles, when the muscles can't move the food down, you can't swallow. You can't swallow, and that's kind of scary. You feel as though at the beginning of that is you always feel as though you have food stuck in your throat. You can't swallow, and oftentimes most of the food goes through actually, but you have a little bit there, and you feel as though it's more than it really is. You probably all have that feeling. Well, this is another way to get acid reflux. So if you don't have enough acid, or if you think you don't have enough acid, people start drinking things like apple cider vinegar, doing things like that, which is the exact wrong thing to do if you think you have acid reflux. The problem is that you don't have enough coating of your esophagus. You don't have too much acid. There's people who think they have too little. They force it with apple cider vinegar, things like that. Scorches their esophagus. Why? Because they don't have enough mucosal lining and not too much acid. When you have gastroparesis, the acid can't get through. And I'm trying to get you people to be able to ask me your questions. Tammy is there. What can you do for a constipated cat? Okay, that'll be part of my answer for the gastroparesis. But constipated cat is the same thing as a human being. All mammals work the same way. I know she had told me she wasn't going to be able to support me for the stream today, but she must be at the vet's. But you give them magnesium, and you can just put a little more fiber in their food. Like an animal, a mammal, I should say, their GI tract is identical. Now, I think a cow is different. They got what do they got, like 8 stomachs? Never treated a cow. So magnesium and this motility select would be good for your cat. I'm going to explain some of that now, but I have a couple of questions, and I'll pick up right where I was before. I was going to lead to the gastroparesis leads to acid reflux because the acid can't get down through the esophagus, so therefore it sits there. That's why I put a question up on Facebook this week. Are you better off, or what's worse, or which, I forget how I said it, what's worse, more dangerous, IBS C or IBS D, diarrhea? And the answer to that is the C, because that's constipation. Just like with the esophagus, the way I'm explaining it, acid has to go down, keeps flowing through. If it's released, there's acid buildup you get in your stomach. It'll start backing up to the esophagus. Let me take some answers first, and then I'll regroup for that. Let's see here. Difficult diagnosis or patient case to heal. Anything to do with acid reflux. That's the hardest thing of all. Anything to do with the IBS, colitis, Crohn's, they're all the same, and they're not really, if you're going to pick a diagnosis, those aren't the hardest ones. Constipation, because it's just really stubborn. You're trying to heal 26 feet in terms of actually retraining it to motion, which we're going to talk about for the people who can't get that last bit out. The most difficult diagnosis is always going to be the acid reflux, GERD, Barrett syndrome, because those are just they're just inherently tough. Maybe I'm just not good enough at them, but most naturopaths I know don't even treat them. But when you're talking about colitis, Crohn's, IBS, they're not really a challenge on the face value of them because it's simple. You replace the mucosal lining, build up the underlying tissue, and you support that through several months with herbs and things. But go into it, the only problem with those is some people are so far gone. They're so far gone. How do you know you're so far gone? It's when you're taking all the combination of drugs they want to give, the doctors want to give you. You're taking all the right stuff for naturopathic stuff, and it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make any difference. Usually you have to be bleeding heavily, a lot of mucus, vomiting, of course diarrhea, and not respond to anything. And I see those people. They all get sent to me. I get a lot of my patients from hospitals, and they don't have to come to me. Australia and Eastern Europe, everywhere. I open my email every morning. There's people who no one else can heal, and some of them I can't heal. So if you come to me and nothing has put a dent in it, you're a candidate for someone that maybe won't be healed. Sometimes I'll say I just can't help you, and sometimes I try, and sometimes we have a miracle. But it's only a matter of degree as far as those conditions go. If someone's gone too long, then they got too much scar tissue, and I can't help that. If they have some type of surgery, I might be able to help them post-surgery. So I don't know if that answered your... someone wrote here, Kira, cows have 4 stomachs. I wonder if I was going to treat them if I'd have to charge them 4 times. I have someone calling in now. We'll see if he wants to tell us his problem, and then we'll move on to the rest of the question and answer. Hello, Dr. Snow.
Hello, Dr. Snow. Nicholas Canary.
Nicholas, hold on a second, brother. I'm doing a live podcast right now.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Now, if you wanted me to answer your question and talk to you right now, if you don't mind, I can do it, or you can call me back later.
I'll call you back later.
All
I just have
right.
a question about something. Okay.
Yeah, okay, bye.
Okay, no problem.
People have a tendency not to want to talk about their rectum in public. I'm always a little suspicious of somebody who does. I'm the only one I know of. Let's see, Saba, my favorite. Saba, I'm going to write a song about you. Do you think gout is connected to the gut? Well, there's a lot of mystery around what gout is, and my view is that you're not micromanaging some of the heavy metals that come into our body from the air and water and such, and then you're not breaking down some of the minerals, and they're pulled by gravity, and they're usually in that toe. I've treated people who had gout as a secondary symptom, and they've done well. I don't know if anyone I've ever made it go away. Usually when I fix their IBS or colitis and they still have gout, they're happy about that part, and they just leave, and I don't hear from them again. But I have seen improvement with relatives that have had it, and it's not just an old man's disease. I think it is partly due to, or maybe fully due to, lack of the ability to digest some of the minerals in our diet, particularly, and that's due to outdated software. The mucosal lining has been worn down by age or by antibiotics. So I don't treat gout, but I tell everybody, if you've got a secondary condition, to me, secondary is that I'm treating you for a GI issue, but you have something else, I will help with that other thing, but I would never treat somebody who just has gout and says, hey, I have gout, can you treat me? I don't know that much about it. Let's see here. Okay, hi, Dr. Snow. It's the real Dahlia, haha. Are there any foods that can help improve peristalsis? Yes, good question. We're talking about that now. I'll take a little extra minute to explain how that works. Peristalsis is the movement of the muscles when food goes into the any kind of bulk goes into the colon. It triggers muscular motion, wave-like motion, and then that pushes the muscles, which actually push the waste out. Like if you took fiber, that triggers the muscles. Why would we take fiber? First of all, fiber foods is the answer to your question. Fiber foods are foods like raw foods, fruits and vegetables. You can't have those when I'm first treating you for inflammatory bowel in most cases. And then at some point during the process, we have to switch over to a since here my chat says, there's somebody waiting in the parking lot to beat you up. Okay, I just got right back here. Thank you, I'll be right out. So with peristaltic motion, when we're treating you and with lack of no fiber, we have to transition over to fiber, and that means we start incorporating raw fruits, raw vegetables. Those are the primary things for peristalsis. Raw fruits and raw vegetables. And when you are on a low fiber diet for the beginning of your treatment with me, you might get constipated. And for some of you, that's a relief because you've had diarrhea. But the key is that we have to then transition you over. So the answer to your question is anything raw and fibrous, like anything that would be in a salad, raw fruits and vegetables. And for some people, the peristalsis doesn't fully recover until we use something like the product we're talking about today, the motility. Motility is started primarily for the upper GI, but you need the motility up there to then push the peristalsis, which picks up at the lower GI. So they work together. So if people have a problem with, they're like 90% better with my treatment for constipation or whatever they're doing, and they can't get that last 5% done, that's when they would use the motility select. So I have people walk around saying I spend 5 hours, and not maybe that long, but 3 hours told today by somebody getting cleaned out. And then when I am cleaned out, I still do feel as though I have to go, and it's really maddening because I constantly going into the bathroom and it's not productive. That's where the motility select comes in, where you take that and it trains the last 5%. It trains that muscle in the esophagus area to trigger the muscle in the colon. That's through the stomach. And then you start to have more productive movements. What's supposed to happen when you use fiber, you're supposed to take in fiber through through meal, dietary, or take a supplement powder. And when you take a powder, here's the key, you gotta do this right. You can't take the supplement, the powder, haphazardly. The bowel wants consistency. It wants to be stimulated at a certain time every day, and it'll eventually get into a pattern around your lifestyle. If you work in a situation where and you don't have IBS, you don't have some of these other conditions, but your bowels don't work quite right, you eat and take a supplement, fiber supplement consistently, like 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, not to the minute, but close to the same time, your bowels will then work perfectly. If you don't have an inflammatory bowel condition, if you're coming off of that, or you're still dealing with constipation, it's consistency. Take your fiber supplement at the same time every day, eat 3 meals at the same time. What happens, you eat, and then it triggers this response, you go to the bathroom. And once you achieve that, it's really hard to ruin it. You got 26 feet of muscle, and if you start eating shabby, it's not going to really care once you get strong and functioning. I think we'll throw that off would be, antibiotics and such. But once you get enough fiber, taking it properly at the same time every day, you can eat between meals, but you have to definitely eat your major meals and take your supplements at the same time. All right, let's see what we got here. Tammy says, Danny, I'm a worse patient than you. No, Tammy and Danny, you're that 5% who we're not getting the 5% done yet. And that's why I'm excited about the motility select. I think that's going to take care of people like you. For the ones who have, well, maybe not you two, because you two have a little different condition, but I think it's the other one that we introduced last week, the IgG. That's what I was thinking for you two. The IgG is going to be a difference for you two, because there's 5% of people who get 95% healed, and they're stuck. I've always had to be creative, and it's always taken more time. I say everybody gets healed, they do, because I always found out the solution. But the idea with the IgG Select is that it takes that 5% and fixes it pretty readily. I was dealing with maybe 12 people that were quite problematic. They weren't recovering, and we used it. And one of them hasn't come around, and all the other ones have. And that's all we changed. We just took the regular protocol that we had of fiber, colon select, and one of the magnesiums, and we kept on IgG select is what's helping them, where that last 5% is getting done, and usually it's taking about 4 or 5 weeks. That's what the people I was dealing with, and the people who just started in the last week or so, a couple have reported they're doing better, like less bleeding, stool is more formed, less urgency. But it takes a while. I did have one person took it the next day. They said, how come I still have it? Still have the problem. I said, you got to give it a few weeks. So, Mara, The muscles in my colon just started working after 6 years. Wow, but not very well. I started deep breathing to relax and have had good results. Well, that's another alternative way to do it. Hopefully that, maybe you're storing stress in your stomach, your abdomen, your bowel. I don't know. I've heard people doing things like taking yoga. What I've said, you can't do, that won't fix it. And then it did. Excuse me while I take a drink of whiskey here. Jack Daniels. So I don't know. Hopefully that sticks with us. Keep us posted, Mara, if that stays with you and continues to work for you. One strange thing that always came up, every year I'd have somebody like this, and I found out it's not uncommon. People would smoke in their cigarettes, and their Crohn's and such symptoms would go away. Or they were okay and didn't know they had a problem. When they stopped smoking, quit smoking, they developed the symptoms. There's something, I have a theory that there's something about the immune system goes into some kind of protective drive to try to protect against the nicotine and such, and that comes over and helps out the GI tract. But that's a phenomenon we see. Okay, Tammy, how much magnesium and motility select do I give if he eats twice a day? Does it go by weight? No, not really. When I talk about a cat, we don't go into 3 or 4 capsules, but the magnesium comes down the same as everybody, whether it's a cat or not. It started at a minimum